Ahoy and welcome back to the LCO. It is week 5, day 1. It is always summer here in Oceania. Lol jokes, it's cold as at the moment and we can't get over it. My name is Papa Pike, that's Skimmy and Tally joining me tonight for the cast. Gents, how are we feeling? It's cold.
It is cold,
Ooh.
which is why I'm so confused you're wearing that attire, mate. You're kidding yourself. You're kidding everybody here.
Look, I had to bring out like my inner Mac, right? I was sort of like, I've got to step up a little bit, got to get the colors in, got to get those cool patterns in there, a little bit of animal magnetism maybe. You know, that's why the
Animals?
sun's are on. And yeah, that's right, see? And now Tally's the only one sitting out of it. Fix that. That's okay. Sorry, we can do costume change later on, Tally. But let's have a look at our replays from last week and jump straight into some LCO League of Legends action. And ahoy, ladies and gentlemen, to the LCO Week 4 week!
It's pretty crazy. 2-man impale, 2-man last breath, too many members falling on down, so 2 becomes a double kill. And Chungy can literally do no run right now. The cast goes across the wall, there's the triple, hunting for the quadra.
When one, looks like I saw that guy pull up on me on the street, like I'm scared. If I see
Blitzcrank?
Ergot.
Yes!
Yeah.
Well, we're going to rock them down to the bot lane to find a little bit of vengeance, find a little bit of revenge, and that's exactly what they get. Zorinus makes this KDA go up to 7-1-5 right now. This Rumble is an absolute weapon. Make it 8. There is a double. Braid him! Say I need to get something, and that he will.
People will cope and say it's all about the setup, but all you need is your skill, to be honest.
Allegoric jumps in, tries to deny that of that call of the Forge God, and now Violet has to go absolutely ultraviolet mode. He'll find one, cops the Dawning Shadow, has the face take Gurak, but then flashes and still gets stunned up by the Ornn. Absolute travesty here. It's only Biopen from a dream right now. In a 1v3, what can the Crab get done? Shern on the left-hand side, 0-5. Shern at the end, when Grand Zero won that match, right? So, and who makes the play work in their favor? Aggro to dominance. It's a 3-man Solar Flare into absolute destruction! Oh my god, Solar Flare, Shockwave, Piercing Arrow, eat your heart out! Sticks 2 front his side. Ain't no way he's hitting the gritty on LCO.
Week 4, what a week, Skimmy. That was just absolute chaos. The games were phenomenal. It was awesome. But we got some better games happening tonight. Let's look at the schedule and break down what you, the audience, will be viewing. And it can't not be Kanga versus Fury to start us off into, I think it is our series of the week, Tally, Antic versus Bliss later on.
Yeah, I'm very excited for both these series because they both have, very big implications on the standings. It's do or die for a lot of these teams when it comes to where they want to end up, getting the optimal positioning coming into playoffs.
It's going to be pretty big. Like, I think, yeah, that we've had a couple numbers, but we can't hand over too many numbers because we're still trying to do them in our heads. And I know, we've trusted my math before and it's never worked out well. But Kanga vs Fury as well, Skimmy. It's going to be a good series. I think this is a big series for both these teams.
Well, yeah, essentially this is a day, a week, I suppose, of teams trying to really figure out where they'll land. Right at the start, it's going to be a battle at the bottom of the table, looking to try and see can we actually make our way into the playoffs. Currently sitting at 7th and 8th, and then to close out, we just completely go upstairs into the top of the battle and say, okay, Antic, do you deserve to be in this top 2, top 3 conversation still? So yeah, no matter what game you tune into, it's going to be a beauty.
Well, that's the best part, right? It's the best thing about League of Legends too. There's always new things happening, there's always big plays, always big games. But let's have a look at the latest patch notes as we are onto a new patch. It's looking so good too. 14.12 is what we're playing on. And Tally, you got to break this down for me, man.
Yeah, so we've already seen majority of the world being played on this patch. We did start off, ahead of the rest of the world when it came to the patches, but we've fallen behind. Finally caught up, and I think that a lot of what's going on in the world right now is pretty similar to what we've seen in the past. We already saw the Ezreal being played on 14.11 before the buff came in, so that's already something that we need to look at going on to next patch, especially, for Ion and how well Sticks can perform on that champion. But I think a lot of the champs who, got nerfed, like the Skarner, the Twisted Fate, I think those champs are still going to pop up in the correct situations, and I'm excited to see Yone receiving buffs because I think right now when we look at the meta, we think of double 80 carries being really strong. So Yone getting that additional armor in the early game is going to really assist him into being that 80 mid laner that you could fill the slot to make your team comp just as good as it could be.
Yeah, I think we see the changes as well, like the Twisted Fate. You got the Ashe in there as well. We've seen that being quite popular. But as well, we got some items, Tally, too, that have had a couple changes as well.
Yeah, I think the main thing is it's just a lot of quality of life changes because when you build these items, they feel a bit bad. You don't really want to build a component, so it's nice that Noon Quiver is being changed into a crit item, so it just you get that better build path. I think Void Staff getting the extra 10 AP will mean that a lot of mages are going to, want to build this item instead of the crit bloom where we see the more utility thanks to the AoE healing. So it's nice to see, my role is finally getting some love from Riot. It's not just, the 80 carry fest that we're seeing right now.
Could you see some changes as well with the first strike as well? Maybe a bit more like mid laners like Asol coming back in. We've seen Chirp on that a couple times. I think he played the first strike too. Is this going to be a little bit more viable for some mid lane champions?
I think that a lot of the mages were really good, but the problem is junglers are just better at being AP carries than mid laners right now because you don't have to deal with laning phase, and the fact that you can just, put whatever 80 carry you want in mid lane and just suddenly have, two of the best scaling, 80 carry in mid, 80 carry in bot, you have double scaling, incorporate a mage in whether you want that top or jungle, and suddenly your comp's just OP, and I think it's just better to have, that recipe for success than, just going for the traditional mage mid 80 jungler.
Well, I fully agree. 100% agree. And I'm really keen to see some different variations. But talking about recipe for success, Skimmy, we've been cooking. We got some champions that have been played a lot, banned a lot. Walk me through this as well, because right now, I don't know what I'm looking at.
Well, yeah, you're going to notice quite a few consistencies here. You'll see some that have the new tag or the up and down arrow, but the one that's going to stand out the most is obviously going to be Nautilus, right? 23 games played across this entire split so far. Has been the go-to. We've obviously inquired with the players a fair bit as to why that's been seen more here than overseas. It's just the ease of execution, right? It gives you a solid, reliable tank. You got the CC, you got the aggression not only in laning phase, but the ability to roam between all the lanes and really showcase what a support gap can look like. Obviously, when that champion has been denied, the Leona comes out to play as well, considering that, we are still very much about those melee supports. The enchant is very much on the back burner, apart from the odd game of maybe like a Emilio or a Nami here and there. Renekton, though, is the one that stands up. It's a brand new champion emerging into that top 3 consideration, right? We've seen it a fair bit in terms of wanting to be aggressive in the laning phase, where he shreds some of those shields down. That are becoming a bit of a problem, but also in many occasions a case of making sure you have an answer to this Camille, which is absolutely destroying. Elsewhere, right, no surprises, the Skarner has still been a massive focus. Same could be said then for the Corki as well as the Tristana, which you're going to see top 3 champs most banned away, as well as that highest presence as well. And then finally with the KDA, also with that phenomenal game of the Ezreal coming back out to play. Same for Chungy on his return as the Yasuo. Those were the 2 standout performers, but those few games that we have had as the Rakan, still 24.5 KDA out of those 3 games played, shows that, yeah, we have a few very good players when that champion finds a good spot to be locked in for.
It's not something to bat your eyes at, right? Like, again, we've seen Aladoric pop off. We saw Chungy on that Yasuo too. Like, they all had outstanding performances. So don't take those games that you just see it once to say it's not sort of relevant. If you get the right team backing it, it's always going to work. So there are so many picks and champions at the moment. But talking about picks, we want to hear from you. Ladies and gentlemen, from the fans, don't forget to go onto Twitter, or X as we like to call it, and share us your gaming setup. We want to look at it. We want to see what it is. I'll share you all mine if you share me yours. I think that's a fair give and take, and we'll have to get onto it soon. We want to see what you guys are working with. If you have something better than, like, I don't know, what's a good CPU at the moment, Tally? Like, would it be like the 4090?
Oh,
Intel
that's a bit too
Core
good.
2 Duo.
Yeah.
Right?
Give me an
64 megabytes of RAM, CD-ROM, banger.
6 monitors, give me everything.
I want all of it right up there. That's all I want. Again, I'm on buttons, but that's fine. I like it. But now, as well, let's move on to the next part, because it's Postman Pike time. Ladies and gentlemen, and friends of all, you have to send something to the LCO. We are so keen to hear from you. You can also get yourself a cheeky little shirt if you do put on that return address, but send it in. Skimmy's wanting something, Tally wants something too. We're all excited and we can't wait to hear from you. It's definitely worth doing it. Type in chat, !postman to find all the details in the chat as well. It's a lot of fun. I like it. I like going to pick them up. I feel special going to the post office. Like, they sort of know me by name now, and they're just sup, Pike? And I'm like, and I just walk out of there.
The glasses just magically appear back on your face again. You're like, yeah, I'm him. I'm that celebrity now.
They're like, what? They're like, who's that handsome devil? And then I just say, no, it's you. It's you, Susan. You're the handsome devil. But don't worry about that. The studies are back on, which means it must be daytime somewhere. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to a short break as we get ready for the first series of tonight. It's going to be so big. Kanga versus Fury. Who's going to take home the win? We are all excited to see, and you should be just as excited. We'll see you there.
I'm sinking. Don't tell me no. You're giving it to the heat, giving it up to the beat. You're killing me. Don't shut me up. For God's sake. 'Cause when she gets in my head, it's just the power. It's just the power play. Yeah, when she gets into my head. Becomes the Varus, forced out of the stopwatch, it's carnage! Only triple happening here is for Phyto. Oh, it's do or die!
Short breaks are nothing, because we just want League of Legends here in Oceania, in the LCO, Week 5, Day 1. A lot of numbers, a lot of good times though, Skimmy, Tally. We got some good series on our hands tonight. It's setting the tone for the week even, would you say, Tally?
Yeah, definitely. I think that we're finally getting to like the games that really matter, and like a lot of these teams are going to be a bit more afraid to make these mistakes in the early game. And I think we're going to see like much slower performances and just a lot more well refined gameplay because there's a lot more on the line now.
That's it. They've been prepping. They've been grazing, even, you might even say, because let's have a look at our first team, which is Kanga, sitting out in the fields, hopping to their delight. And this team, although has had a bit of a rocky sort of start, is starting to find their feet a little bit, Skimmy.
Yeah, I would say they would be. Still at the very bottom of the table, yet to find that win. No points down the name, but it's not really deterred them from experimenting and definitely trying a few new things along the road as well, right? I mean, you're still going to be looking at the likes of Woodon in that top lane to be a point of security for them. Obviously, Fury has that expertise from being in the league for a while, but we still bring up the point, right? He has been moved from mid lane into the jungle, and no doubt been working really well with the likes of Sovereign to try and find some level of synergy there. So I'm not really sure what their recipe for success is going to be going forward, right? They've tried a few different things. You can see on this occasion, you had Sovereign play the mid lane of a Malphite, went in that rather tanky build to try and give Fury all the tools to be that pop-off Carthus. It was very close. It was very, very close. So I'll see if they found the recipe for success coming into tonight.
That's the big thing. You talked about Sovereign and all these sort of fun picks that we've been seeing from him, like the Malphite. Is Chirp up for the challenge on this Fury roster, which we had some really high hopes for? And again, they've had some hard games. They've had a long, hard slog. This could be their time to shine now, Tally.
Yeah, definitely. This is, if there was a time to shine, it's definitely now. We are getting towards the end of the split, and every single game matters. And I think that the meta has really shifted into a stronger identity of this double AD carry and this really strong mage in the top or jungle. And we haven't seen Fury want to prioritize AD mid lanes. We constantly see them banning them out and still playing mages in the mid lane, sometimes even double mages, and that might be just enough to like headshot them in the draft if they continue doing this.
Well, do you think they're going to maybe prepare something a little bit different? Do you think Chirp's been on the warpath, like trying to play maybe a bit more Yone could be up for grabs here, Skimmy?
Well, I think I would like to certainly see them have that flexibility. I think it's definitely a sticking point, right? Is the fact that they have been very one-dimensional and that Chirp is going to lock in an AP champion no matter what it could be. Whereas you've seen that Sovereign is quite keen to lean towards those AD options, right? But Tristana is probably the most standout one. And as Tally mentions, right, there have been a few awkward situations where it's like Chirp's trying to farm, being incredibly aggressive. He's off split pushing. Obviously, Nox is trying to play 1v9 mode on his carry in the jungle as well. And it looks a little bit disjointed at the best of times. But across the board, obviously very phenomenal. A little bit of shakiness up there in the top lane with new players coming in to fill the void of Tomasino, but we still sung their praises, right? Fury have been a very standout team, so yeah, hoping they can show that there's still a lot left in the tank to showcase.
It's a lot more movement to go because it is very much towards the end of the round robin. So let's have a look at their road to playoffs. This is a big sort of thing, and Tally, I'll let you sort of walk us through this a little bit. Let's start with Kanga.
Yeah, so we see Kanga's road to playoffs is a very scary one, but I think the first game is the one for them to prove themselves. So I think that they are on a very even playing field, and it is the possibility for them to pick up a 2-0. I'm pretty sure they need to pick up a 2-0 today to be able to, have a chance to make it into playoffs just based on the standings that we're looking at. But, then we look at the other side of Fury, and you would say that, like, their playoff run looks much more comfortable. They've already, we talked about in weeks past how they started off with all the major teams at the beginning of the split, and now that we look at them coming to the latter half, a lot more comfortable against these matchups. And I think that Fury, if they, finally find their footing again, find a better identity, they can really coast into playoffs and just be comfortable as a team going forward.
There is no coasting here, Tally. This is LCO. It's always going to be a hard slog. But let's have a look at a head-to-head of these fantastic mid laners too and see what these guys have been up to. We've got Chirp and Sovereign here. Looking at their champion pool, looking at their performance as well. It's still early days for both these players. Again, it is Sovereign's first debut, Skimmy. But is there anything that really stands out for you here?
What I say, Chirp definitely has one of the biggest champion pools out of the mid laners, right? Very keen to showcase something different. At one point, we were saying he's literally playing a different champion every single game. Even in a series, right, he was never going to look to try and play the same option once again, right? You've obviously got those very unique picks along the lines of, you could say the Victor, the Cassiopeia, even the Malzahar and the Aurelion Sol. That would be the ones that stand out. But this is what we mentioned before, right? That flexibility. Obviously, Sovereign has the Tristana, the Jace, and the Corki in his back pocket. And I think, if Kanga can find themselves a winning draft, it is going to come from the fact that they can isolate out those damage profiles, right? We saw it in the past where Fury got given all the tools to try and accelerate on the Karthus, and I think that certainly could give them a fighting chance. But the one thing I will mention when we look at the statistics, because it's not the most kind to them overall, I will say that Chirp's laning stats have been quite strong. Gold difference by 15 minutes, XP difference by 15 minutes. He's not afraid to get his hands dirty. It tends to be a case of when junglers get involved or summoners are being down, that over-aggression, that tendency to punish to get those leads tends to be his demise.
Do you think it's also, Tally, the use of multiple different champions, like having such a wide pool? We know that if you want to climb or improve at the game, you've got to sort of limit what you can play. Do you think that's been a bit of a hindrance to him, or maybe more of a pro for the team?
I would say it's a pro. I think that those champions that we saw of Chirp's pool they all function very similarly. It's just, you understand the trading patterns as a mage. It's like, my cooldown is up, I will out-trade you. That's pretty much how every single mage works. No one can really match them in that, power of trading, but the fact is you have long cooldowns, so that's how these AD champs abuse them, because you don't really have cooldowns that people can abuse as like the Tristana. You can just always trade, you can always be aggressive, you can build sustain in lane, and that's why we see, a lot of success coming out of Tristana. But I think if they went bar for bar, Sovereign versus Chirp, I would give Chirp's champion pool the edge in the 1-for-1. But when it comes down to the team play, we get to see over and over again, he doesn't really get much help because, his jungler wants to be farming up on these mage junglers, doesn't want to be interacting with, all these people coming mid to really bully Chirp. So we have to see what they're going to do tonight and, if they're going to have a different approach.
Well, talking about what they're going to do tonight, we actually have Fury on Kanga, the new jungler on the scene, joining us for an interview. Hey, buddy. How you doing, mate?
Whoa!
Good. How are you guys?
Yeah, I won't speak for everyone, but I'm pretty good. How are you guys?
Yeah,
Great.
Not doing good. We're doing
I like
good.
hearing.
As good as we can.
Now, Fury, I got a question for you. How's the jungle grind going? You're new to the role. I want to know how you're feeling.
It's definitely brought a whole different perspective on like competitive play for me, going from like the last 3 years of playing mid to playing the jungle role. I always thought jungle role, as everyone does, thought it was quite easy. So it's like, oh, this would be an easy swap, and then like you get into it, and you're like, oh no, it's just jungle grab every game.
Well, that actually leads to my next question, right? I wanted to know, how have you find the transition? Like, that's going from mid lane into jungle, like you literally just said, it's a hard sort of role swap. Have you been getting a bit of extra coaching? Has someone been helping you sort of lead the way or giving you some instruction?
No, not really. Just a lot of VOD reviewing and a lot of like watching Schoenfeier's YouTube videos, and yeah.
And then he's basically teaching. But no, that's good to hear, mate. I'll pass it over to Tally now for you.
I want to know, is tonight the night? Because I think personally, like you've grown into your role over the weeks that we've seen you play. 6 jungle games under your belt so far, but we haven't yet to see that first win. So I want to know, like, is it finally time? Because I think that we've been watching you grow into the role and just look a bit more comfortable, picking up like the more meta champs as the weeks go on. And I think you're just having better performance. So is it finally time?
Well, look, today I feel a little bit sick of losing. So hopefully tonight's going to be that 2-0.
You got me there. You got me there. I was I'm feeling unwell. I was like, oh,
You have me in the first half. I suppose my question, Fury, would be sort of along the lines, very similar to what Telly mentioned, right? Have you found a winning recipe, like a formula for success? Because we've seen a lot of teams, as the weeks go by, stick to a bit of identity. Obviously, it's been very much a case of like an AP jungler is the go-to. I think you've looked your best when you've been on champs like the Zac, for example, to give your team sort of a little bit of engaged prowess. But do you think the team's found a bit of success in terms of what their best comp is? Because we see you flip-flop between like a cheesy little Malphite Jarvan comp one week and then back to sort of like the more meta champions the week after.
Yeah, so my tool to going into jungle was I one-tricked Master Yi for it's like my only jungle off-roll champ for like the last 3 years. And Yi got completely gutted with the lethal tempo, so that kind of threw me under the bus. Now, as you see, I'm just playing AP junglers. Because I only play like Yi Rengar, but yeah, Rengar Yi is not too hot, so we have kind of, like you were talking about before with the champ pools, I've kind of narrowed it down to like a certain pool, trying to gain momentum and knowledge on these champions and just get it repetitive going. Like you said, we're trying to get a win, so we're not going too fancy. We're just gonna stick to what we've been practicing in scrims. You guys don't see it, but we've just been doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, beauty.
Repetition, repetition, repetition. The key to success. So I'm expecting some big things from you, Fury. Thank you so much for coming on, man. I can't wait to see you play. Feel better and get that win.
Thank you, lads. Have a good one.
Thanks, mate. So I said that. He actually got me with a bamboozle there. I was genuinely concerned. I was like, oh, is he actually sick? Like, I feel bad for getting him on. Then he hit me with that Uno reverse card. I was like, you done it. You done it, mate.
I was waiting for him to fully sell it, like have the medical mask on, start coughing, and then just like rip, sick of losing, and you're like, whoa.
He's almost got me, but that's okay. Look, it sounds like they're doing some good things, right? Like, sadly, they are at the bottom, but they're working on it, right? Like, that's the big thing you want to see from these teams, is that they just haven't given up and rolled over. They are looking to get that improvement and keep trying to get something on the board. So I'm really keen to see what they can pull out, Tally.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they always say, losers improve. It's all about like absorbing as much information as you can and taking away from these losses and improving as a team, and then finally finding your footing, finding that style that you really stick with, and just becoming the best side you can, I guess.
And I think also like another lane we forget to talk about is the top lane, right? Like Woodon was one of the standout players from last split. I found a stat which was they had the most solo kills in the entire league throughout regular as well as playoffs. You consider how far Kanga went in those playoffs. I think that's a pretty impressive performance, right? To get 25 solo kills across the entire last split. So I am certainly looking at Woodon. going into a new player also on the side of Fury and showing that, like, hey, there's levels to this. Yeah, Aatrox got like a little bit of a cheeky change. Maybe it's time for the Wood on Aatrox special. I don't know. But all I'm saying is I'm excited to see what he has in store and showcase that there's at least one more winning lane for them to play around.
Yeah, I didn't actually think about that. It's giving the prioritization to the right sort of people, the right lanes, and you put out some great stats. That's why I love you, Skimmy. You always got the good stats for me. But talking about another good egg, coming onto the Rift, we have Chirp joining us over from the Fury side. Chirp, how you doing, mate? You feeling good for tonight?
Yeah, I'm feeling good for tonight. I think it's going to be good 2 games.
I think so. I'm pretty excited for it. Now, we know Fury's had a bit of a tough run of late. You've had sort of probably the hardest run out of all the other teams. Are you feeling better into the next set of series going into it?
Yeah, I'm feeling better for the next couple of series.
Is there any team that you're a little bit worried? Is there any team you're a little bit worried about versing, Chirp? No?
No, I'm not worried about any team in the coming 3 weeks.
Ooh. All right, the confidence, Tally.
Okay, so I want to ask about, what we're seeing in the mid lane right now, because we're seeing a lot of, the double AD carry meta paired with, like, the mages in the jungle, and, we're seeing, like, the Corkis, the Tristanas, various solutions, but, you're really sticking to your guns with the mages, and I want to know, is that, like, a purely preference thing on your end, or is there more to it?
It's definitely a preference thing, and I have seen, like, that meta develop, so I've got a new pick and I've cut some ones that didn't really work in the meta as well. So they can bring that out today.
Ooh, I'm excited for that because I definitely know that like it is strong and like we keep seeing these double AD carries everywhere over the world, but there are answers to it, and if that is something that you've picked up, I'm excited to see that.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose, Chirp, from my end, maybe a little bit similar to Tally's point as well, but, we look at Sovereign and his champion pool. The most banned against them have been his Syndra as well as the Orianna. So are you almost anticipating that with those bans, once again, that he's going to be looking to try and draft an AD champion, and you're sort of ready to respond with those crazy champions that you sort of just mentioned before?
I think today we're probably not taking that route of banning those champions.
Okay.
But we'll see how the draft develops.
Get me just enough to get excited. I love that. Thank you so much. Just enough. Woo.
He's edging me, man. He's edging me. Okay, so, Chirp, you said you got a bit of a spicy pick. Have you been playing with anything really off meta, like in the mid lane? You've been playing a bit of Yone or something for me? I just want to see it.
It's pretty off meta. You'll probably see it today.
Yeah, alright. Okay, it's just pretty off meta.
Yeah.
Ooh.
But I think it's
okay. Okay. Stop it, man. I'm on the edge of my seat already. It's hurting me too much. But Chirp, thank you so much for coming on, mate. We really appreciate you. Good luck in your series tonight. We're all rooting for you, mate.
All right, thank you.
We're locking in Tarek, Master Yi, and we're going to Worlds. GG.
Like, actually, though, is this the funnel? Is this funnel again?
Oh, I don't know. I'm actually really curious to think, like, what could be this crazy pick that we've yet to see elsewhere in the world that he's just been scrimming, I'd imagine, relentlessly on to make sure it's, stage ready. It's cool.
I could throw a random guess. Like, I remember Anivia being very good into AD carries. Like, the range difference is, very hard to deal with his AD carries. So I could see that being something we might see coming out of Chirp.
Okay. Well, let's have a look at side select and see where these teams are going to be going and finally find out what's going on. And it's blue side for Kanga and red side for Fury. Wow. That does... you baited me a little bit with the Anivia there, Tally, too, because I think Anivia is better on red side, if I recall.
She's just OP. It's one of those very, slept on champions, you don't really play against it in a very long time, and all of a sudden you verse, Anivia one trick and solo Q with Electric Ignite, and you get one shot at level 2, and you're like, that's not fair.
That be how it is.
Look, I'm nervous now. That's the thing. But you shouldn't be nervous, viewers. You shouldn't be nervous because it's all excitement. Because get your Twitch points in. It's over there. It's up in the corner. Definitely get those in so you can stack those mad Twitch channel points. It's all we want. But let's look at our predictions while you guys are doing that at the same time. Let's just jump right into it. See who we're voting on to win. And we've all gone 2-0 Fury, Skimmy.
Yeah, look, I think I've just gone on recency. I think even despite the roster shuffles that have happened on Fury's side, I feel like they've still got 4 really strong contenders. I believe that Chirp's laning is going to be pretty hard to get past, even if he doesn't link up as much with Nox. I'm still a big believer in the likes of Hooper and Findo. I think those two are very much a slept-on duo, so I'd imagine them to sort of have just a slight advantage overall. So, I mean, it could certainly go either way. I think Kanga could have finally hit the nail on the head and found something that works for them, but based on what I've seen recently, I think Fury should have the 2-0.
Yeah, well, justify yours, and I'm going to hit you with some knowledge. I'm going to hit you with something crazy.
Ooh, I can't wait for that knowledge. I would say pretty similar to Skimmy in the same ballpark. I think that Fury had really good showings against the tougher teams that we've seen them play against so far. Even though they weren't able to take away the wins, they were doing really well in the early game. Just not being able to walk over the finish line in the late game. But I think that against these teams that are on the same level playing field or slightly below them, I think they'll do much better.
I have a feeling it's going to be, you said the Taric Yi, right? I'm going to do a bit of a flip. I'm going to say there's going to be a Callista for Hooper tonight with maybe an AD, a second AD carry, like an Ashe potentially, if it's not banned. I have a feeling there's going to be something nuts like that. I'm ready to go, but we got the game ready to go, guys. I'm going to go to the beach for a second, get a tan. I'm going to let you guys have fun with it.
Beautiful. Well, let's lock into this one here, Tally. Let's get yet another week of LCO underway where we have a battle at the bottom of the table in a must-win series, quite honestly, for either of these sides to really make sure there is still that chance of making it to playoffs.
Yeah, definitely. They're sitting around the same point ballpark, but Fury has a lot more wiggle room when it comes to the strength of schedule. So still, both these teams need to take away as many points as possible if they want to secure a spot in playoffs. But, I've been thinking a bit more about what this pick could potentially be, Skimmy, and I saw the buffs on the patch, maybe, this could be it. It could be the Vladimir angle. Historically, really good into squishy champions, and these AD carry mins aren't particularly good at bullying Vladimir in lane. And when you get to scale up, this could be a champ that takes over the game. So I'm really curious to see what it is.
That would actually be very exciting, right? Very much a case of a champion that can certainly just work wonders if we are expecting a full-on bloodbath where we're not even excited or even interested in playing that macro split-pushing style. But let's talk about some of these bans right at the gates, right? The Bel'Veth Tex on towards Nox, the Cassiopeia that Chirp has leaned towards a fair bit as well. But on their end, they've also said, you know what? A little bit too good, are you, Woodon, on this Riven? We cannot afford to let that one go through either.
Yeah, still seeing the Respect Riven ban towards Woodon. I think that's just, a tried and true classic. But we see the Corki being left up, and this is the pick, Skivvy. I guess the Fury. I think, have we ever seen this in competitive play?
I don't believe. I feel like this may be, just from the top of my head, I feel like this is the first time we've ever seen it in the LCO. Did it get a buff on this patch, right? Combined with a Zyra, surely that's in the jungle. And maybe Fury are like, yeah, we really have been cooking.
Yeah, we see Sovereign's playing it. He's like, what the hell is going on? I would say, most people haven't played against this champion. It's like, it's been out for a while, but it's so rare. We don't really see it as a common occurrence. So we get to see Chirp finally playing in 80 mid lane. It's like, I'm not going to play the boring, the good ones, like the Tristana, the Varus. Get rid of those. Give me the Fury. I'll be that AD mid laner so Nox can finally play his AB jungler and be enabled to, as he keeps saying, he wants to prove himself, really, shine. And I think that finally getting the AD mid laner when you get to play this carry jungler is so good for him.
And that really was one of our key points coming into tonight's game, right? The fact that Chirp has not played the AD mid laner, and that was potentially a bit of a limitation for them in their drafts. But to come out the gate swinging here and showcase that, look, we've got so much more prepared, and we do not want to be known as this, one-dimensional squad that can be very easily locked on out. Out goes the Camille as well, as no doubt you'd imagine it's going into the top lane for Prey to showcase not only on his LCO debut that he can wrestle with the best and look to showcase that he can be just as good as the likes of Tien and Doraemon.
And what am I seeing on the whiteboard? Is that they're praying for Naught ban? So there's a little play on words there. We get to see Prey with his debut. This Camille could still be a flex Skimmy, but seeing that it is the Melio, not a really good matchup when you get to deal with the kickback when you're trying to hookshot in. I assume it's going to go to the top lane. I think it's a very good pick into these double AD carries, especially if you find that flank position in a team fight. You can really take out one of the major carries, and I think that it's one of the weaknesses of these double carry comps is that, the Vi's, the Camille's, these point-and-click lockdowns are just so good at dealing with these squishy members.
Very much the case, right? And I feel like this is one of those kind of compositions that they're putting together now where if they get ahead, if they get a bit of a lead, very, very hard to try and get your way back into this one, right? That Neferi be one-shotting people, the Camille obviously the same as well, and that Zyra, if the tempo is that much in their control, we may actually get graced with that 20-minute on-spawn Baron, which would no doubt be pretty exciting. Double Bruiser bans coming out there to protect that Camille when the Renekton and Jax makes a lot of sense. The Nautilus, as well as the Senna, is the response from Kanga's side, already ensuring that their bot lane is there to be secured. So what does Hooper want to showcase? And I think, Xeric certainly one of those true and tried ones. Definitely made a name for himself when he was a sub for Order all those years back. But he's also looked very impressive on the Ashe. And, you know, we're still up in the air as to whether or not this will be a support flex. But definitely a very strong champion still.
Yeah, assumingly this will go towards Root, but they are lacking that critical engage tools. Thankfully, they pick up the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. But, you know, with the blanket bans going towards top to cover the Camille, we look at, you know, Kanga's comp, and they still have access to stuff like the Karthus in the jungle, but it isn't necessarily something you want to pair with the range support. You know, you don't really want to have Mage Jungler with this squishy, like, range support, because you can't really access, you know, walking in together ward. You don't really function together well. So, you know, we see the AP pick coming out in the top lane, which means that Kanga has the option to pick this Bruiser in the jungle to really, you know, solidify their comp.
Yeah, they certainly do. We know that Rifu has been a bit of a fan of this Jarvan and certainly has been a bit of a, you know, Exodia pick in many of these drafts where there's just so much lack of mobility that the Cataclysm, suddenly those stocks are rising through the roof. So Jarvan with the Rumble, you've got the red carpet, you've got so much damage to follow it up with. And what is the icing on the cake here for Fury? How do they want to try and round this all out? What is the pairing with this Ashe? And could it be one of those classic pikes? And suddenly we've just got, you know, double assassins. That would be crazy. But no, back to Leona. True and tried, and certainly going to fit the bill here.
Yeah, definitely very standard comp from Fury. When I look at Kanga's comp, I'm afraid for Rifu because he has to play this engage, you know, solo engage tool into the Zyra, and we all know, like, Zyra is one of the best disengaged champs in the game. It's so hard to, you know, just ignore her damage because she's like a brand in a sense where she just throws out all her spells. Even if she dies, she's going to get so much damage off thanks to all the plants, you know, doing an insane amount of damage at that team fight. And when Nox does get access, you know, to the Zonyas, to the Rileys, to the Leandries, and is such a tanky champion who can stall for such a long time, it's going to be very hard for Fury to be able to navigate these team fights without dying.
Yeah, certainly a lot of ways to try and make his life a bit miserable in this Jarvan, right? But at the very same time, I think they've got a very strong comp. If we are sort of expecting that all-out brawl, where we return to that previous point, right, about the ability to, you know, play the lanes out. Generally speaking, at the lower end of the table, I have been much more leaning towards those all-out 5v5s, right? So I'm curious. Obviously, there are conditions in which both teams can lean towards that split push. Obviously, there's no need to beat around the bush when you look at the Camille. You know what that can get done. But I think a lot of people are in particular going to be looking to say, we see what Zyra can do abroad. Can it emulate that same level of success down here in Australia? But also for the Neferi, right? A brand new champion, not only yet to ever be seen in the LCO, but not a champion I think anybody's too familiar with globally.
Yeah, it's just, I would say it's very similar to what we're used to seeing from the AP junglers. Very fast at clearing the jungle, you know, decent at skirmishing because you do have access to the, you know, the CC from the Grassing Roots and the Strangle Thorns, which means your team fighting is actually very decent compared to, you know, with, like, you would see the Karthus, who is just more of like he's a damage amp. He doesn't really provide that CC or the utility that Azara would in these team fights. So that's one of the nicer things about the Zara. She just, she covers more areas as a champion. But, you know, we look at the comps from both teams, and I see Fury just, you know, doing very well in the laning phase, whereas, you know, I feel like Fury, because he doesn't clear the jungle as fast, doesn't have the same tempo as the Zyra, is going to be forced to gank, but he doesn't really have access to, you know, the CC he needs in these matchups to be able to snowball this early game and make sure that his team doesn't fall too far behind based on how these matchups are going to go.
Well, certainly some of these matchups do need to go in their favor. I primarily, once again, revert back to Woodon. He has the highest damage percentage of any top laner in this league. They certainly have rallied around him on a number of occasions. With a champion like Rumble, will be opting for the Ignite as opposed for the Teleport. You'd want to try and get a solo kill nice and early. Really keep that Camille at bay. And for once, shut this champion down from all those annoying split-pushing shenanigans. At least you've got one lane to then try and rely upon, because I'm sure a lot of us are going to be keeping our eyes very much peeled in this mid lane to see how this one all plays out too.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see how this Neferi works in the match. I think it's just a lot of farming scheming. I don't think the champion has access to a lot of kill pressure in the early game, but, you know, when you do base and you find that first Dirk, you get towards the level 6 point where you can finally use your W to be aggressive in your matchup. Corki doesn't really have that same, you know, instant burst trading power that Neferi will. And, you know, thanks to the amount of utility this champion has and being able to scale up pretty safely, you know, we think of a lot of assassins as being like, oh, you have to trade so much health in the early game to be able to get the CS, be able to, you know, get towards your power spike level 6. But Neferi, thankfully, one of those champs who can sit back and scale pretty safely.
No doubt. I'm sure Corki can also fit into that same category as well, right? Playing on 14-12, where the Phosphorus Bomb got the buff and the Gatling Gun did get nerfed. Obviously, we saw the lethality Gatling Gun, you know, avenue for a little bit of time, but certainly has gone full circle and back to what it almost looked like pre-rework. So we'll get to see how that Farm Fest takes place. As for the rest of Kanga, this is the second variation, right, of that Lucian pairing. Usually it was with the Nami, but I think more and more we seeing it now get paired with Emilio, just really valuing that AoE cleanse.
Yeah, so I was actually curious to see that Fino wanted to play the Leona into the Melio because I think they're giving value to the Melio ult, and I feel like playing the Hook champion would have been much better. They'd have access to the Blitzcrank and the Pike, which probably would have been a much better pick when you look at Kanga's comp and how none of these champions really want to be on the receiving end of a Blitzcrank hook in the mid game. So curious that he did go towards the Leona, and if it's going to be something he wants to snowball from in the early game.
Let's see if they can find those avenues to get excited and get aggressive. Otherwise, the Enchanter certainly can be that major thorn in their backside, be an absolute bully. As for the jungle, you'd imagine that the Zyra is going to be an absolute machine, just steam clearing all the way through from bottom to top. As for the Jarvan, obviously a lot more tools up your sleeve as to do I want to try and match that, or do I want to try and get active onto the map nice and early? In terms of CC, I think that's one of the growing points that you raised earlier on, right? It's not the easiest avenue in. If you do miss that flag and drag, you can be a little bit exposed here.
Yeah, and I think we should pay attention to the map right now, skimming as we can see like the clear speed, like the differences between the junglers right now. Nox is going to be finished his full clear before, Refury's even onto his 4th camp. So if Woodon isn't careful, he could potentially go down to a gank here if Refury doesn't, decide to skip a camp and also match the pressure coming out top lane right now.
It certainly is a lot of pressure, but it has to be expected right off that rumble. In goes Chirp, getting aggressive nice. He summons the dogs, the hounds are active. And just like that, the trade works out to be an even one in the end.
Yeah, so, it doesn't land the Q2, which is what the majority of the damage from the Furious kit comes from. You land that second Q after the first one, which means you get the bleed, which is a lot of the damage from the kit. Still wins out in the trade without landing that, though. So, Nefiri has a lot of power in the laning phase in the early game, especially against Corki. Corki is very good at dealing damage without receiving it back in tandem. But, in these straight-up, trades, he doesn't really have the same power that an Assassin would have in the early game.
It certainly does. He's going to be looking to try and get himself that early purchase. Make sure that he can control this lane and not really allow the easiest of transitions for the Corki to hit those 2-3 items and just become an absolute powerhouse by that point. Here is the Jarvan though, and that presence alone is enough to force prey at a lane to be denied the XP as well as that gold, and Woodon is already looking to try and proxy this wave. 28 CS to 9. It's not a pretty sight up here.
Yeah, so we see Nox decide to go for the recall instead of assisting his top lane. This is, the classic debut. You get yourself in a really bad matchup. You get played away from. You don't really get the ability to do anything. He isn't going for the recall though, and he is staying around. Nox playing out of vision, really waiting for these chickens to respawn so he has something to do. And this is one of the problems with these mages is you clear the jungle so fast that you don't really have anything to do, as he does show on vision. So Kanga does know he's around mid, and if they do decide to play aggressive onto Nox, he has Fino in his back pocket.
Yeah, just stepped up a little bit too much there, trying to get a bit angsty about maybe there is a potential gank to take place. Not to be though. And will be eventually pushed back into his side of the jungle. Fino there obviously to help and escort him out, get a little bit of vision for themselves, clear control within the process, and always keep their eyes on the prize, which is where is this Jarvan? Because wherever he could be, we could be in a bit of trouble, which is certainly the case here for Chirp, who's just getting absolutely blasted from afar by this Corki.
Yeah, we see Sovereign's already teleported back to lane, so he's going to win the trade very hard because he has the item advantage. Chirp's still going to, find his reset now, be completely fine when he teleports back to lane, hopefully picks up the Dirk now. And I think we're going to finally start to see the aggression you can really get in the early game, paired up with the amount of priority that Nox has in the jungle right now.
Strongest would be the fact that they can link up both Nox and Findo. That amount of CC is going to be very, very difficult to try and put on down. Certainly not enough to be answered by that of a Jarvan and Emilio. And no doubt the fact that if level 6 comes around as well, Hooper can no doubt be looking for those cross-map arrows. A cheeky ash shot, get an assist in the process of farming up all that gold as well. Going to be very happy days. As you can see, Nox has made his way all up to top. And is saying, well, how much time do I need to put towards this Camille? Still is lagging very much behind, but is my time best spent elsewhere?
Yeah, we aren't really seeing that lead coming out of the Zyra in the early game with a lot of the camps are being traded right now. Nox is using a lot of his tempo to just recall and get back on the map first, but Refury he's keeping up in CS, being around the places where he needs to be, always making sure that his lanes are covered, hovering mid so Sovereign can play aggressive, playing around top to make sure that Woodon pushes him off this wave. He does decide to, Prey wants to stay around and catch the CS. I think, Refuse is having much more of an impact in early game. He's doing what he needs to do. Even though he isn't finding these kills, he is still, doing his job as a jungler right now.
Certainly is. Not very often you see a Jarvan keep up with that of a full clearing jungler, but either way, going to be happy days for either side, I'm sure, because the grubs will go the side of Kanga. As for the Drake, going to be picked up here nice and early by Fury to work towards that soul point. This time, poking the head in. Level 6 is there for Woodon. Fury still needs another camp before he can find that Liberty. But would they try and force out a dive, or at least burn a summoner here? Out goes the Flag and Drake. The flash held for the meantime. Hextech Ultimatum, locks in place Woodon right underneath that turret. At the very last second, he flashes away, drops the turret aggro. Fury does the same. And first blood goes the way of Kanga.
Yeah, that's to show how easy that dive is. Skimmy, we saw Woodon completely with the dive by blowing his overheat early, so he didn't have as much damage as he really wanted going into that dive. But they still got that dive off pretty comfortably. You know, both of them survived, have to blow both flashes, but in the end, they got the outcome they wanted. And that's just a really good job by Furies. On the right side of the map, we get to see, you know, the strength of Zyra as you get to do these camps over the wall. You know, it's not really balanced, honestly. It shouldn't really exist. But something that's really nice is you can just steal away these camps while not even putting yourself in danger.
Yeah, and it's only going to get easier and easier and easier, right? Once that itemization comes online at this stage, has rushed towards those tier 2 boots, wants to be as mobile as possible whilst also packing that absolute punch of all that magic pen. So they say it's our time to try and answer back. The Valkyrie already being burnt, the flash is there too, and for just good measure, Fino says, how about an exhaust? Surrounded by 3, there was nowhere to run.
Yeah, and this is kind of payback for diving top. We get to see Fury forced out of his own jungle, lost both his camps on the bot side. Gank comes in mid because they have priority from bot side thanks to Nox hovering. And, you know, we finally get to see the strength of Desire, you know, so, like, he's going to go back to his jungle full clear, getting an even bigger camp lead. And I think it's, you know, finally time for these champs to come online and be able to take over this early game.
Now it starts to feel as if, you know, what you'd expect from this matchup is actually taking place. Yes, you can get those grubs. Yes, you can go for the first blood. But all that free information has just given Nox the insight to say, yeah, I can walk into this jungle and take absolutely everything, and you really can't punish me. You saw Gavin actually poke his head into their side of the jungle and go like, I'm literally just watching these die, and I have no response to it.
Yeah, and I think this is something that Ground Zero do really well. You know, when we see Shern go for these ganks, he's always, you know, communicating to his teams like, guys, he's going to be here. Can we defend my camps? We make sure, like, I don't fall behind because of this. We see Fury show on the side of the map, and unfortunately, he loses so much because of it. He gets his lane ahead, but he costs himself, you know, a very big lead that he was able to get in the early game. So Nox is going to base and just constantly be able to cycle these camps, get even stronger. And I think that as we get into the mid game, this champ is going to function so well.
Could be an absolute menace, that is for sure right now, because you can see both him as well as Chirp starting to pull ahead with a bit of a lead. Nothing really to cry home about at this stage, but certainly enough to warrant that they're going to keep the gold lead in touching distance. Still Kanga lead by 600 gold at this 9-minute mark. But it's by no means out of the water just yet. And still some very volatile lanes, right? The flash is being burnt. Now another one being burnt in his bot, and his Milio's in trouble. Vendrick going to go aggressive here. Prey upon the fact that Hooper has no mana. The cleanse is actually going to get burnt as well. But now that they see the Jarvan, you've got to burn the flash. The Cataclysm to follow. And that is why the Ashe doesn't really like this game, because he cannot escape. And the bait was fantastic because Vendrick ends up with a double.
Demacia is greater than Freljord, Skimmy. You can't outplay the Cataclysm, especially as these are mobile champions. When you lose the flash, you're just a sitting duck. And, you know, I think the worst possible outcome there is the fact that Hooper died and committed the flash, which means that Fury, when that ult comes back up, he can repeat and do the same thing to that bot lane.
Certainly can, and doesn't really have any lack of options, right? It could be in the bot lane again. You could actually poke your head into top once more with that flash still being down. I mean, originally the starts with what you'd imagine is just, yeah, an ult onto Gabin's head, a cleanse of that one, and just say, run, 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 buy time, our jungler's on his way.
And this is one of the classic outcomes in, you know, in solo queue and competitive play, Skimmy, is when your jungler shows on one side of the map and you trade aggressively on the other, you always have to think about the fact that their jungler is going to be here and you can get ganked, you can get traded on, and that was the case here.
Certainly was the case. It's going to really help sure that the Lucian finds a bit of mid-game power. Already has the bounty, the only champion bounty in the game, with a 2-0 scoreline. Essence Reaver secured nice and early, as well as that magical footwear. So certainly in a point of power, as Fury are going to group up as 4 to deny Kanga claiming all 6 of those Void Grubs, give them some turret pushing power as well, and make sure that with the assistance of all those Zyra plants, very easy to acquire.
Yeah, proactive lane swap coming out of Fury here. We do see the ult come out. Gavin doesn't have flash and he might go down.
Yeah, double ult onto the support, when this time the Milio is not long for the world. There goes the Triangle Fawn, locks in place, and takes down Fury. So a perfect engage there as they all collapse onto mids.
Yeah, as easy as that. You know, they really abuse the summoners. We were talking about how Kanga has the ability to abuse the summoners, but there's also the Fury also has the ability to do that as well, you know, throwing out the solar flare, really abusing the fact that Gavin doesn't have access to his ulti or to his flash yet. We might see the same thing happening to Sovereign right now when he does not have the flash.
In a little trouble right now. The Valkyrie gets burnt nice and early, but the Zenith Blade was always going to follow. Finder's going to tank up this for as long as he can. Sovereign tries to answer back, but the body blocking by Hooper is superb. And in back-to-back skirmishes, Fury just win.
Yeah, and you know, we see Fury constantly winning these skirmishes across the map, constantly finding leads, but you know, when we take stock of the gold right now, it's still in Kanga's pocket, and I think that's thanks to Wooden right now doing so good in his 1v1. And we just talk about how Kanga is, they live or die by Wudon and how well he does in his individual 1v1, and he found a really good matchup this time. You know, in weeks past, he was playing losing matchups and being the one to fall down to these solo kills, so it's nice to see for the Kanga side that Wudon is doing so good in his individual lane and can be that X factor that his team needs.
Certainly can be the X Factor, and even despite being up by 40 CS, isn't the most fed member in this game. As you can see there, Vendrick as well as Hooper. The two AD carries certainly do reign supreme, and no doubt will be aiming to be the stars of this show. Findo with a nice rotate up to the top lane here, anticipating that potential gank or even just a 1v1 were to take place. And as you saw there for a glimpse, Nox still being that pest, really making sure that if Fury reveals himself, that vision, that knowledge is passed on, and Nox can just literally do a bit of a world tour and take everything that the map has.
Yeah, and we get to see this, you know, Nox being like, alright, I'm gonna go steal his camps. He has to respond on this side of the map. Can you guys cover it? We see Findo doing a really good job to make sure that his top laner doesn't get dove there, giving him some vision, and really following Fury around the map because he doesn't need to really be in bot lane necessarily. Hooper's not under much threat against the Enchanter coming out of Gavin, and he isn't too worried about getting dove. He can catch that wave, get himself some solo experience, and really scale up and become the strong hyper carry.
So there's going to be a battle of who can scale up quicker, it seems, at this stage, right between these AD carries, between these mid laners as well. You talk about the relevance of an assassin-style champion. You want to be on the strong front foot, and certainly that is the case right now here for Chirp, debuting a brand new champion, not only in the LCO, but even internationally. If this does well, it certainly does look to try and pad those stats and put you on the map. 1-0-2 right now. Out goes Findo, literally flashing to gain distance with that solar flare. It is perfect, because I do secure a second in the mid lane.
Yeah, as easy as that, Skimmy. And I just had a little look. I didn't really get to see the ERL regions, but I think this is the world's first Neferi game, so really excited to see if this does become, you know, a pick to play into the AD carries in mid, because they are so squishy. They can't really, you know, itemize these defense times. You would think of like, you know, Corkins from starting a matchup. You can go for the tabbies in the early game, but unfortunately you can't really do it to Assassins. It doesn't really save you from, you know, getting blown up.
Certainly doesn't. Scary times then for Sovereign. 0-3, pushed further and further behind. He's very much going to be looking towards his AD carry then, who has the inverse of that scoreline and saying, what can you do to try and turn the tides of this battle? Speak of it, fantastic flash, GCD perfect. Dodging out of that Cataclysm, he barrels back in, he's summoned the dogs. They have most certainly been let out. Nox with a flash forward, full combo, dropped on his jungle counterpart and takes him down for the first time this game. The dogs keep getting summoned in mid lane, locking in place Gavin as well as Sovereign. He's just returned back to lane, but he's already down to 50 again.
Yeah, and we get to see the, you know, the strength of the, you know, the defensive items we get out of the Neferi in the early game, and the ability to, you know, navigate this, the Jarvan combos and just do so well to survive that gank, buy time for his team to show up, and it was such an easy cleanup for his team there. And I think that Neferi is this champion who's, you know, you think of Assassins, you're like, okay, they're really good in the early game, they're really good in the mid game, but they suck late game. But I think, you know, Neferi, one of her strengths is, you know, when you get to that level 16, you get to have all these dogs out on the map, and the strength you have when you pop that ulti, it's kind of like a mini Kassadin, so the clock is ticking.
It certainly is, yeah, as you say, it just empowers you so much with the shield, the bonus attack damage. Also a cheeky little buff to that, you know, range as well, to try and space those autos as cleanly as you can. Well, there's the link-up that we're quite excited for, right? The link-up between Findo and Nox. These two in tandem have so much CC and damage combined, and are really looking to try and alleviate the pressure that Prey has been under. In this 1v1, he has been suffering, down by 50 before that gank came on through, and unfortunately for Kanga, just a little bit too late to respond.
Yeah, and that might seal the top lane matchup scheme. You know, we look at the CS lead, but we look at the items in the inventory, and they're pretty similar, and I think I would give the edge to Prey. He is playing the duelist, he does have the Triforce, and in the individual 1v1, he's going to be doing very well, and as the game, you know, goes on and he gets more items, it's going to become even more one-sided for him. So I think that, you know, we look at Fury and Kanga and how this mid-game is going to function. They have two winning side lanes, which is so important for how this game is going to function, because Kanga doesn't have engage tools, and we get to see the TP coming out of Chirp right now. What is this going to look like, Skimmy?
Well, let's see. He's going to call the pack and say, my target is the AD carry. I must get that bounty. That Lucian is dead. He burns literally everything with the assistance of Gavin there to help him out. So they'll just simply turn their attention and say, I'll kill your support first. Nox says, don't worry, I've got this. They'll take what they came for. And now, Tally, I mean, it looks like the icing on the cake. All those woes in the early game, completely forgotten about.
Yeah, and this is a really nice, new look for Fury. We always talked about, will Chirp play the AD champs? Is he going to keep playing these mages? Double mages just don't really work, but we get to see him on the AD Assassin doing so well in his lane, and this TP was so nice. Really abusing the fact that there's no Kanga members here that they can really help him out, and they're really abusing the summons. I think really nice Sorrel Balls coming out of Nox, which means that he gets the execution onto Vendrick, and he really cuts off the escape path to Gavin there.
Yeah, just so annoying though, isn't it? The ability to try and isolate at the key target and just pounce towards them, get that stickiness, and make sure that even if you are Evolution with all this mobility, you're not running away, which could also be said for Wood on here. Locked once again in a CC combo as they give themselves that thumbs up emote and say, Prey, look mate, we've bailed you out again. And now you have a really nice KDA sitting at 3-1 and 3. The Triforce is complete, working your way towards that Ravenous Hydra, and like you mentioned, I think this really does turn the tide of that matchup.
Yeah, and I think that Findo is our silent MVP this game. He's been everywhere. He's really finding his kills for his team. He's really punishing the side lane. He's getting kills onto Sovereign to make sure Chirp snowballs. He is, with Nox all the time to make sure that he's covering the camp while also allowing him to invade and feel a bit safer, dropping all this vision for him. So I think he's having a really, really good performance on this melee support paired with the AP jungler.
But let's see what else they can find amongst us all, because even before that fight broke out, it was the case of Fury having Hooper as well as Chirp pushing 2 lanes, getting 2 turrets for Kanga just to respond back with the Herald top lane and say, that looks good enough for us on this occasion. Once again, though, Chirp's found his target. Out comes the Ash shot. The target it's landed on has been the Emilio, so you can't cleanse if you're the one that has to hit that button. Dies once more. And with the Baron only a minute and a half away, this is Fury really upping their pressure and commanding control of this mid lane too.
Yeah, they just have so many tools to be aggressive here, but Nox does go down scheming. This fight might extend.
Yeah, they're just taking a really greedy recall there, and this could actually really work in favor of Kanga to try and answer back the 5-13 deficit. They'll find 2, which is huge, given that it's both been Nox and Findo leading this assault.
Yeah, and Vendrick is the saving grace for Kanga right now. He is so fed on this Lucian. Really nice to see that he doesn't, fall for the booby trap of going for that rapid fire cannon second. He's going for that the damage option because he recognizes these champs will be diving onto him. He doesn't need the extra range to do damage. He just needs the raw damage output to carry these team fights.
Yeah, he welcomes the pressure right to his face and says, look, I've got the damage now with that shred. Maybe, just maybe, with the supportive tools to try and back me, that is enough to get a team fight win. Currently behind by 3,000 gold, but after that skirmish win, that retaliation more so than anything, they're going to turn it around and look to deny Fury of that perfect 4-dragon stack. And does add another 5 minutes, crucially onto the timer. And I think that's probably most important for the likes of Sovereign and Woodon to try and get themselves back into a fighting position. Prey, so disrespectful in that deep TP into the jungle. He just simply walks out.
Yeah, a bit far ahead of his team, but thanks to the hookshot, is able to get out of there. But I'm pleasantly surprised with his debut skimming. I think that he did a really good job in the playing the weak side in a terrible matchup to be able to not fall down an insane amount, to stay relevant and to be there for those major team fights using the TP well. And even on the dive, he did blow 2 flashes. He had his TP to get back and didn't really miss any experience. So even though he is down CS, he is staying up in levels, and that's the main thing when it comes to Camille, is being strong on these side lanes. And we get to see the level lead coming out of him right now.
As you say, 1 level lead in favor of Prey right now. And there's something about Camille and Oceania, man. I don't understand it. Everybody that seems to play it, they're just cracked. Doesn't matter what the matchup is. Doesn't matter how the game state goes against them. Even if you are first-blooded, you still find a way to become relevant. Well, check out the replay once again, because this was that really elongated fight.
Yeah, really nice arrow by Hooper onto the Emilio, which means that he can't use the cleanse to save his teammates. But, we get to see Woodon get caught out, but does an insane amount of damage. But I think this was the major mistake from Fury. They still have vision on these members, and they're playing these really aggressive recalls, and just a really nice job from Kanga to find these kills on the exit, and do a good job. But will they find out more members? No skidding. They don't.
Very close, though. I always get a little bit like, wait a minute. But not on this occasion. Saved by the recall. 20 minutes into this one then, and the battle does become a case of, okay, who goes towards the Baron? Because I'd imagine that both teams, obviously you talk about Fury having incredible Baron speed, but on the flip side, I don't think Kanga's is the worst.
Yeah, it's absolutely not the worst. Double AD carry is always going to do a insane amount of damage to the Baron, but they have to keep track of it because they have to worry about Nox being able to absolutely one-shot this objective if they're off the map for too long.
Does seem the case, though, that Fury are very much keen on always pushing out those side lanes and making sure that if Kanga do group up as 5, they get punished even more. If they then split away to attend to those side lanes, the Baron becomes a freebie. So it certainly seems like Fury are still on the front foot, forcing Kanga to respond reactively. As we look towards the mid lane and see that it's going to be held by Hooper and Fono for the meantime, but further and further ahead does become Chirp, and you can see that Sovereign is still suffering in this 1v1.
Yeah, he's still suffering in the 1v1, but like he does have some items to his name. He isn't, in such a terrible spot. Hopefully he picks up that Infinity Edge soon, so he does have that DPS output that he needs to be able to do. But, looking at the Fury side, they're not insanely tanky skimmy, so even if he does fall behind, he's not going to be doing 0 damage. He will be outputting a decent amount of damage. Not the same as Vendrick, though, because he is extremely strong, and I think that's the main thing that Kanga need to really focus on right now.
Let's see what their invitation back into this game truly will be. As we mentioned before, it's not the biggest gold lead against them, but they do have some very positive points still to talk about. You mentioned earlier that it is the Vendrick show, and you can understand why, because it's literally a case of Chirp finds him on the mid lane. You think you're safe. It's not to be the case, though. The Solar Flare goes out. It doesn't stun, just a slow on this occasion, but with the support of Emilio and that Breath of Life thereafter, he can dodge out those pesky Zyra roots. That will dissuade the Baron Rush at the very least. But everybody's clumped up in mid again.
Yeah, that's a lot of Fury ults going on cooldown, so I think Kanga feel a bit more confident, step up here. Vendrick's entire ulti was absorbed there by all the dog skimmies, so I think that's that's a really underrated thing about the Fury. But we see this teamfight style right now, they don't have the ults.
Here we go, Kendrick Lamar getting aggressive on this one. Looking to try and drop a bit of a diss track in this game. So then Prey jumps in, he's had enough of it, locks them in place with the Hextech ultimatum, realizes that his team is dying around him. Rifu went on a bit of a reckless mission, 1v9, jumped in, took down the dog, put him to rest finally, as he's now 5-1-6, and a Blast Cone may have saved Gavin for a second, but not in the end. It won't be an ace, but it will be enough to then potentially run it back to Baron.
Yeah, unfortunately, Vendrick Lamar falls at the end there. Skimmy Hooper really good at abusing the fact that they have no cooldowns, flashing forward and just gunning down all the members from Kanga. They didn't really need the ults, I guess. They just played that so well thanks to their gold lead, and they have so much Baron damage here. I don't think Sovereign can do anything.
Well, Sovereign, you say you tried, but unfortunately for them, it was an Ash ult straight to the head. It really was a bit of a bye-bye.
Yeah, a really nice engage by Findo here, finding Vendrick, which means he's committing the flash and the cleanse straight away. Can't really find access to do more damage in this fight here because he has to worry about all the tools coming out of the members. It's a really good job of cycling the re-engage, disengage. Fury finds a really nice trade kill, finds the shutdown, but once again, Hooper knows there's no cooldowns, knows there's no one who can really punish him right now, and flashes forward and finds the execution.
Yeah, just so confident, wasn't he? Knowing that everything that could really threaten him has, diminished by that point in the game. Flash forward, hit the barrier, absorb all the damage that you're anticipating will come your way, and just slow them down with a flurry of arrows. 24 minutes into this one then, and we do find ourselves in a lull point with this pause. But what do we make of the game state so far? Because yes, after that win, that major fight into the Baron, they'll be up by 5,000 now. Do you think their comp is well equipped enough to try and set up a bit of a siege and sort of break open the base?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that they have all the tools they really need to break open this game, and I also think that this game has been going as expected. I don't think Kanga really had the tools to, blow open the early game. We really expected the Fury roster to be able to naturally generate a lead just thanks to the good matchups plus the scaling jungler versus the early game, mid game jungler. Wasn't really able to find the snowball that he really needed to blow the game open, and I think that that's just a really nice job by Fury. So I think that going into this, post Baron buff collection, sieging, breaking over the base, they're going to be very comfortable.
It certainly should be, because if you take a quick stock check of the items going into this Baron setup now for the next 2.5 minutes, you've got 2 items complete on the Camille, so you're already very happy about where Prey's position is in this one. Nox is a Warlord with the Leandries and the Rylai. He's obviously building towards some Magic Pen as well, so already hitting like a truck, and is going to add to that even more so, because where is the magic resistance on the side of Kanga? It's, not to be found. There's more interest towards these Ninja Tebbies.
Yeah, this is the problem with these, strong solo AP camps. You can't itemize magic resist, because if you do, you have to worry about Chirp, you have to worry about Hoop, you have to worry about Prey, and there's so much, threats coming out of them as we see the flame coming out of Fury.
Unbelievable there. Gaben tried to step up for a second, just lights out, instantly destroyed. Another kill found very quickly. as the bush gank proves to be ultimately so successful. That flag and drag away to safety, not to be found. And Sovereign finds himself in yet a very familiar position. He's got to defend this base on his own, and that split push that Prey was looking for, forget about it. Straight through the mid lane. And do they tease it, hitting the Nexus itself?
Yeah, and this is like a, hashtag pack walk Skimmy. There's so many dogs on the side of Fury there. They have to worry about, Chirp as a member in isolation, but you have to worry about all his dogs that he has, with him doing so much damage. And I just don't think Kanga has the tools to be able to defend this push right now.
They can't do much. They're going to try and look at Chirp for a second. They can just leap across the Nexus, take it down at a swift heartbeat, and at 25 minutes, put the game to rest. A bit of a smile on his face. He mentioned, look, I've got something new up my sleeve. You wait and see what this was. I'm sure many people out there were thinking, could it be a Yone? Could it be a set? Could it be something else slightly unconventional? But I don't think anybody quite expected to see Neferi.
Yeah, what a performance from Fury. Really nice to see this new identity. But, going into game 2, if this champ is banned, do they have, more tools in the toolbox? Is it just going to be a one trick, oh, we're back to mages, Neferi's been removed? What's it going to look like in the second game, Skimmy? I can't wait.
Certainly has kept the likes of Kanga on watch as to, is our prep actually sufficient for what we went into this game anticipating? Well, as it stands now, it is Fury that at the break lead 1-0.